What is going on, guys? Wanted to get this in the bag video out for 2025 and show you what a amateur player is throwing when it comes to MVP, Axiom, and Streamline. It's something that I started kind of working on during the off season and kind of just fell in love with the plastic, how board flat some of the discs were, and the consistency all around. So I just felt like I was playing better with them, decided to give it a try, and yeah, wanted to get this out before the season's kind of officially kicked off. So I've got, starting off in the bag, I've got the Discology, I think this is the OG V2 is what they call it. Super cheap. These things are like $89.99. And before I forget to mention, I actually have a sponsor for this year. It's going to be Ozark Mountain Discs. Their link is going to be in the description. They carry these bags, and I have a little discount code that will save you guys 10% at checkout. So they got discs, they got bags, they got everything that you guys could hope for. So definitely click down below, show them some support. If you don't need anything at the moment, head over to their Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, give them a like, a follow, and a subscribe. So I'll kind of show you how I've got everything set up in the bag. I got kind of my chalk and mini compartment over here. And then it does kind of have these extensions here on the sides, which I always kind of have mine out because I have them full. With it being in Missouri, you know, it's cold right now, so I carry normally like an extra long sleeve shirt or a windbreaker of some sort in there if I get too cold. So yeah, I got both of those out so you can kind of see. And let's talk how many discs I've got in here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I got 20 discs in the bottom compartment of the bag. And I've got my putting putters up here, some throwing putters here, and then it's kind of got like a utility pouch down here in the middle that you could fit another couple of putters. So, I mean, you can actually get probably 3 putting putters up here in the top. So, I mean, with this thing fully loaded, you could probably carry 25 discs if you wanted to. So, it's kind of how I've got mine all set up. It's also got the umbrella holder over here. Padding on the back, kind of like a hidden compartment if you want to put wallet or keys or something in there, your phone. And then double water bottle holder compartment on each side. And yeah, I've really liked it. I started with it last season and have had it for about a year now. And as you can see with all the dirt, just kind of beat the crap out of it. And it's for the money, I don't think you can beat it. So let's go into you guys what I've got in the bag. So starting off with my putting putters, this is kind of the one area I'm not 100% sure on, but I have been enjoying the Nomads. I really enjoy the Glide. They have a little bit of finish at the end, which I like. The thing for me is I just don't know how I feel about the hand feel yet. I'm putting in with the Electron Firm plastic. It's kind of the plastic I always go to if I'm with my putting putters, if I'm putting with MVP, but I don't know how I feel about the hand feel yet, but I like the flight of these. So if anybody has any other recommendations that you'd recommend for putting putters to try, the only other ones I've tried is Pixels, and I wanted something with a little bit more bite at the end, which is why I've liked the Nomads. So I'm going to give them a little bit longer before I just toss them out of the bag, but Nomads are my putting putter of choice for 2025. We'll go into throwing putters. So for my hyzer flip to straight or thrown flat to slightly understable, I've got a soft proxy in the bag. Super fun disc to throw. These things are like laser straight. You can really yank on them. And yeah, soft proxy. Next, I've got this beautiful Pilot in the Proton plastic. And I feel like the Pilot's kind of slept on because I feel like most people discover like the Watt or the Ohm, and I believe the Pilot and the Ohm have the exact same numbers. It's basically just Streamline's non-overmold technology, but these things are actually quite a bit more stable than the numbers suggest. So it's a 2-speed, 5 glide, 0 turn, 1 fade. And depending on the plastic, like the Cosmic Neutron, I feel like they're a little bit more stable than that one finish at the end. And these things you can really, I can hyzer flip this really hard and throw this like 260 feet, and it just goes dead straight and just glides for days. So I've really been enjoying the Pilot. I pretty much just use it for my dead straight, super glidey shot, slotted up next to my proxy. Stepping up in stability for my overstable throwing putter, it is not an Envy. It is actually the Streamline Stabilizer. And this thing, this is kind of what I always wanted my Envies to fly like, but was just trying to search between plastics to get this flight. So these things are nice and stable. You can just really rip on these, and they're still always going to finish at the end. And I will always have one of these in the bag for a nice stable throwing putter. So definitely give the stabilizer a try. Next, for my approach shots and off the tee shots, I've got the new Cosmic Neutron Eagle McMahon range. I bagged this one since the Circuit Challenge, the Eclipse one, and I actually didn't realize how understable this was getting. It was kind of getting to the point where I was debating if I was going to keep it in the bag or not. And as most people know, these came out recently, and these seem like they're just as stable, if not a little bit more stable, which is kind of what I've found with most of MVP's Cosmic Neutron plastic. So I've fallen back in love with this disc. Definitely give these a try. They are so fun. I use these forehand, backhand, forehand hyzer flip to flat to straight. Super fun disc to use. I use them for approaches off the tee. So that is my last throwing putter I believe that I have in the bag. I carry 2 tempos in the bag. I've got the OTB Proton Soft that I've had in the bag since these came out last year. And I've basically just got this like beat into perfection. It literally just goes dead straight with little to no finish at the end at all. And it is such a nice slot to have. And then slotted next to that, I've got the Eclipse Tempo. And I got this when these came out last year as well. And having these slotted up next to each other, the Eclipse one just tends to be a little bit more stable. It kind of flies, not identical, but kind of like the Get Freaky zone that I had in the bag last season. So that's really nice. These are just great flyers. Highly recommend to give the Tempo a try. Their numbers are 440, 2.5, I believe. Super fun disc to throw. Next, I've got my mids, which kind of are, I don't want to say in shambles, but I'm working on them right now because I just took some stuff out of the bag that I wasn't happy with. So I used to bag the Hex. The Hex is now out of the bag, and I have the reactor in there. The Hex for me just started to become a little too flippy and sensitive for kind of what I wanted it to be used for after it was in the bag for honestly not that long. So I put the reactor in there. They're a little stable, I feel like, for what I want out of the, right out of the box. But when you beat these guys in, they fly super duper nice. So I've got this R2 reactor, Neutron reactor in the bag for basically my straight flyer. So next I've got the Balance, which this is the V1 Balance, and I think what I may end up doing, I've actually got the brand new V2 one. I just got this in the mail a few days ago. This beautiful swirly blue one. And this is the V2, which is not supposed to be as stable as the V1. But what I was honestly considering doing is rocking all 3 balances. The V1 as like my stable pyro slot. The V2 is kind of the less stable, and the V3 is what I've kind of seen people are throwing and comparing it to the reactor. So I was kind of debating about doing that, but for right now, this is probably going to be my lineup for my mids. Having my reactor, the V2 balance, and then the V1. So talking about the V1, I used to have a pyro in this slot for pretty much all of last season, but I just really like the hand feel of the V1 balance a little bit more. I would say flight is almost identical. Maybe the V1 balance being a little bit straighter, so like a slightly beat in pyro, which is perfectly fine with me. But I just really have enjoyed the hand feel of the V1 balances. So that is going to be in the bag for most of this season. And then probably my second favorite disc in the bag is I've got this Proton deflector. And this thing has probably been one of my favorite discoveries since switching my bag this year. Because I used to bag a Swarm in this slot last year, and I just wanted to have an overstable beefcake. With playing in the woods, it's nice to have something that's a nice utility disc that you can really flex. But this thing has been just an absolute blast to throw. Like I said, probably one of my second favorite discs. Really beefy, but still throwable. Next up, I've got my fairways. So I actually consider my 9 speeds to be fairways. They say distance drivers, but I treat them like fairways. So I have quite a few in this slot. The first one I've got is probably my favorite disc from MVP, the Resistor. And this is like a mini Fireball, mini Firebird type of disc. It's a 6.5 speed, 4 glide, 0 turn, and 3.5 fade. So most people may think this is too beefy for them. Try one out. They're super throwable, and it is such a fun disc to use forehand and backhand. They're board flat. They do great in the wind, and they fly super well. So I've got the Resistor in my bag for my overstable fairway shot. Love this thing on forehand and backhand. Great disc. Next up, for my straight to stable, I've got the Servo. This is actually somewhat new. I took the Crave out this year. I had the Crave in last season, and this is the first time I've actually given the Servo a try. I did get it in a max weight. I got 175 gram just in the Neutron, and these actually came out somewhat stable. I felt like more than what I expected. I mean, if I really rip on this, it's still going to turn. Turn. It's going to go straight and fade it, fade at the end a little bit. So I think once this gets beat in, I'm really going to like it. And I took the Crave out kind of for the same reason that I took the Hex out of the bag. It was just becoming a little too, I feel like, temperamental and flipping over on me when I didn't want it to. So Servo's in the bag. I'm Team Servo over Team Crave. Try the Servo out. So getting into my 9 speeds here, kind of for my flippy fairway, I've got I just totally blanked, an Insanity in this slot. And the thing with the Insanity, I'm going to try and remember the number. I know it's a 9 speed, 5 glide, 2 turn, maybe 1 fade, right around there. And I expected this to be a lot more flippy than what it actually turned out to be. So this is basically just like a hyzer flip to dead straight with a little bit of finish, or thrown flat. It's going to turn, but not turn and burn. Really, really like the Insanity. I know a lot of people throw this disc and like it, so I wanted to give it a try. Definitely glad I did. Next, I bagged 2 Teslas. I've got this Simon Tesla, which has been in the bag since last season. It is pretty beat, but it is so nice. I mean, these things were pretty freaking beefy from the time I got mine and was throwing mine. I didn't feel like it threw anywhere near to the numbers. Never got any turn, and I kind of feel like it threw like a beat-in Fireball or something like that. So I've got this guy in here, pretty much maybe gets a little bit of turn, goes dead straight for the most part, kind of flies like my Servo except a little bit further. And then next to that, I just bag a brand new, newer Proton Tesla. for that overstable 9-speed slot. So it's nice having those two slotted together, a nice beat-in one and a freshie. And then for my overstable 9-speed slot, I've got my Fireball. To be honest with the Fireball, I've tried them out in a few plastics, the Proton and the Neutron, and they were just insanely beefy, which is what you want for this slot. But I kind of just found, like, with having the resistor in the bag, that I really like the fission plastic. And that's one of the things I've really liked with MVPs. Like, if you want to beat something in quickly and get the flight that you really want, get it in fission plastic, go out and throw it for a little while, and it's going to beat in way quicker than any of the other plastics. So, especially the Proton. So I've got this Fission Fireball. It's beat in super nice for this season. Like I said, I trained with it all off season. Super great flyer. Next, we'll get into the distance drivers. I've got my Trail in the bag. Absolutely love this disc, but I actually find myself not throwing it a whole lot. It's a great flyer. These things absolutely bomb, but from the courses I've just played, I normally just grab my 11 speed, and I haven't grabbed this, but I do keep this in the bag. I do use this every once in a while, and when I do, I'm glad that I have it and I used it. So stepping up to my 11 speed drivers, I've got a Eclipse Vanish in the bag. This thing probably is close to one of my furthest throwing discs. If anyone's thrown the Vanish, you know that they really don't fly true to their numbers. It's 11 speed, 5 glide. I think it's a 3 turn and 2 fade. And this one is starting to fly close to those numbers because I've been beating the crap out of it, and I do have some replacements because it's just that good of a disc to me. But these things, literally, I can full rip on it. Slight hyzer, it flips up to flat. It's going to turn for a good amount of time and come back at the end. And to most people, that may seem like it's true to its numbers, but when I think of like an 11.5, -3.2, like I think of a roller. And this thing just, it doesn't turn and burn. It turns quite a bit. Super great flyer. Next up, probably my most used drivers is the Photon. The Photon, if you've thrown one before, they are such a good disc. They are pretty stable out of the box, I will say, which I personally like. I like overstable stuff, if you haven't been able to tell. But they're an 11 speed, 5 glide, -1, 2.5 fade. I personally never see any turn out of these out of the bag or out of the box. Even this one, like I live in Missouri, and so there is rocks galore. Like, I've got a crack in this rim here, and it still flies like an absolute beefcake, which I love. But I keep a couple on these on hand. The reason I keep 2 is this one was in the bag all last season. It's pretty beat in, it turns. Sometimes it can get a little too flippy, but it's nice to have something I can hyzer flip, get a slight amount of turn, but still be a little bit more stable than that Vanish that I just showed. And then the Proton ones are probably some of the more stable ones that I found as far as plastic goes. And the Proton plastic is just super nice because it's super durable, and I like it. Like I said, with playing with rocks and hitting rocks, they could take a beating. So Photon and the Proton plastic, super fun. Backhand, forehand, great disc. Next, we're going to step up to instability. So I carry somewhat of a lightweight. It's a Panic. It's a 166 grain Panic. And this one I can fully rip on. It's going to get a little bit of turn, but it always comes back. And these 2 discs here, this other one, these are kind of like my Wind Fighters, but I'm trying to decide which one is going to stay in the bag for my Wind Fighter, and I think it's going to end up being the Time Lapse. If anybody's thrown the Time Lapse, you guys know how absolutely beefy these are. They never turn over, and they're basically like almost like a glideless pig. Like, I feel like this thing it's a 12, I think it's like 12.5. I can't remember the last 2 numbers. I don't want to say and get it wrong, but they're absolute beefy, way beefier than what the numbers suggest. And I can throw this thing probably like a max of like 350 feet. And in the windiest conditions, it's not going to turn over. So I think this is going to be my wind fighter driver. This one I may keep in the bag because I can actually get this to go further than the time lapse, and this thing actually has less glide than the time lapse. So I've liked having them slotted into the same slot as my wind fighter disc, but I don't know if I'm going to end up keeping both of them in the bag because they kind of serve the same purpose, and this one doesn't go too much further than my time lapse. So those are kind of my overstable beefcake distance drivers. Lastly, I kind of have what I call like my utility discs. I've got a orbital in the bag, and I use this for rollers. So this comes in and out of the bag depending on the course that I'm playing for the tournament. I don't really use this a whole lot. Sometimes I do, but I do have this as well. That's my roller disc. Next, I've got this Fission Dimension, and I kind of treat this, like I said, like a utility disc. It doesn't get along with me really on backhand a whole lot. I feel like it's a little too finicky. But on forehand, this is my absolute bomber. Like I've gotten 350 feet on a flex forehand with this, which for me is quite a bit of distance on a forehand. So that's the reason I kind of say utility slot, because it's really only something I use on a big forehand rip that I have to use a forehand. I'm primarily backhand, but I've really tried to this season get more consistent with my forehand and actually have a forehand. So that pretty much does it. I did grab a few discs that I'm working on that are possibly going to be in the bag. I've got another Vanish, except in the neutron plastic. I haven't tried with the neutron ones, so I'm going to give the neutron Vanish a try. And see if it's a little more stable. If it is, it may kick that red photon out of the bag, and I may put this in here. And then I've got, like I said, I love the tempo. I got two of them in there. I've got the new Jeremy Colling Particle Glow tempo. I'm going to give this a try, see how stable it is, how the flight is. And I've got this beautiful rainbow stamped R2 neutron tempo that I'm going to try out. So if you guys would like to see a video on stability of all those, let me know. Last thing I wanted to talk about was the giveaway. I kind of talked about that with my Gyropalooza box unboxing, but I've got, I had this first run Vector as a giveaway option, and I've got some other discs in the collection too for the giveaway, but I just wanted to see what some of you guys would be interested in as far as giveaways. I do have some non-MVP stuff that I've gotten from the tournament. Like this here is a Felon, and I've got this Sake Bomb Slammer. So I've got some stuff to give away, but it's going to be one disc at a time, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do that on my Instagram. I think that's just going to be easier. So I'm going to have that linked below, and then I will have the comments turned on this video below. So let me know if you guys throw primarily Axiom, MVP, and Streamline, what discs that you didn't see in the bag that I should definitely give a try, and then let me know what you guys would like to see for the giveaway. So like I said, I'm gonna do my first giveaway when I hit 200 subscribers, which I think I'm only 6 away from. So you're gonna have to be subscribed, and then you're gonna have to be following my Instagram in order to get in on that. So definitely do that. I'll have that linked below. I'm going to have Ozark Mountain Discs linked below as well. Like I said, they're going to be my store sponsor for the year. Give them a follow, a like, and a subscribe. Have a good one, guys.